Hey, guys. Doing I hope y'all are doing good tonight. Thanks for joining me. Hey, Gen X to the seventh power. How are you tonight, dear? Hey, Casey. How are you? Casey, I know you're excited. I know. Well, what we got going on tonight is a special edition of Let's Talk About It with KK. Um, and tonight we're going to dive into one of the most talked about legal cases going around social media world right now, and that's the RICO lawsuit involving 52 social media creators. Now, this is one wild case. It's got everything from accusations of defamation, harassment, even claims of organized online smear campaigns. But before we get into all of that, I want everybody that's tuning in tonight to remember that everything that we're discussing tonight only involves allegations. Nothing has been proven except for a few protection orders, which we'll cover a little bit later on. But what we're going to do tonight is kind of break down this complex lawsuit and look at the key players and the claims that are being made and really what this could mean for the future of social media and all of us creators. So grab you some coffee and some snacks and let's settle in and let's talk about it. So as you noticed in the intro, I had a disclaimer because there's been absolutely nothing that is alleged in this lawsuit that has been proven in a court of law. Nothing. Well, except for the protection orders that excuse me, a creator has. And we'll get into all of that a little bit later, but the opinions that are expressed here are my opinions. They don't reflect the views of any other parties that are involved in the case or any other YouTube creators. The opinions here are mine, and if I have guests, their opinions are theirs. It's as simple as that. So, but first, I want to kind of dive into what is what RICO even is, because that's the law at the center of this whole entire case. And as everybody knows, RICO stands for Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, which it was passed in 1970, I think it was, to help law enforcement take down organized crime. But the question is, how does RICO apply to social media creators? I mean, really? Some of the things that we need to know is criminal organization. RICO is used to prosecute groups that are involved in like patterns of illegal activity, like, organized crime syndics, things like that. You have to show a pattern of racketeering. For the RICO charges to really stick, the prosecutors are going to have to prove that at least two criminal acts occurred within a 10-year period. There is a thing called extended liability within a RICO, and it's powerful because it allows prosecutors to charge leaders of these organizations, even if they didn't commit the crimes themselves. So as long as they helped manage the enterprise or the organization, they could be charged. And then we have the civil and criminal penalties. Now, if found to be guilty under RICO, defendants can face criminal charges. Oops, sorry about that. Fines and, possibly jail time. I mean, this isn't anything to gawk at, and this is not something that should be filed just because. You know what I'm saying? Because, and like I've said a couple of times already, it's really important that we all remember that these are just accusations. We're here to break down the case, explain what's going on, but there's been absolutely nothing proven in court. So, but I did find a news article that, or not a news article, but a news report that is in regards to this that I want to bring, and I want to share that now.
People searching for a missing teenager are going back to court.
Dog the Bounty Hunter and Sebastian Rogers' father filed an injunction against two social media influencers in Pennsylvania. They claim the YouTuber and TikToker are obstructing the search for Sebastian Rogers. News 2's Caitlin Quisenberry breaks down statements included in this lawsuit.
An 18-page injunction backed by a 323-page list of exhibits and testimonies was filed last Friday. The plaintiffs include Dog the Bounty Hunter, Sebastian Rogers' father, Seth, and the father's spokesperson, Tony Mathis, as well as YouTuber Andrew Griffin. The lawsuit alleges two influencers, a YouTuber and TikToker, created a, quote, coordinated campaign of cyber harassment, false allegations, and witness intimidation. The lawsuit ties back to the search for missing Sumner County teen Sebastian Rogers. He was last seen in February at his family home in Hendersonville. Dog the Bounty Hunter joined the search for Sebastian in September and added $75,000 to the reward for information, now totaling $125,000. The plaintiffs claim the influencers encourage their subscribers to flood tip lines, and law enforcement with false reports have threatened Dog the Bounty Hunter and other searchers, allegedly slowing down critical travel and coordination for search efforts. A spokesperson for Sebastian's father said one of the influencers threatened to, quote, take him down, while Sebastian's dad wrote, quote, I'm fighting against a coordinated group of individuals who seem more interested in destroying me than helping to find my boy. He went on to say, quote, if my son dies out there, they'll have blood on their hands. The lawsuit urges the influencers to stop any disparaging comments about the plaintiffs, remove any previous video content doing so, and ask their subscribers to follow their example. A press conference was scheduled for today in Pennsylvania, where the influencers live, to address the filed lawsuit. But according to At Night Private Intelligence Agency, the conference was postponed due to, quote, reports of individuals arranging for a marching band to interrupt the conference, along with other suspicious messages.
In a letter included in the court documents, the lawyer for the YouTuber writes the allegations are, quote, baseless and without legal foundation. News 2 reached out to all parties involved and has not heard back. If you have any information to the whereabouts of Sebastian Rogers, you can find a list of numbers to call on our website at WKRN.com.
Wow.
We continue to...
Let me stop that. We don't want to hear no more of her. But yeah, this thing is just nuts. I mean, it's Seth Rogers, the plaintiffs, Seth Rogers, Dog the Bounty Hunter, Bullhorn Betty, Tony Mathis, Nick the Hat. There's another one, Brittany J. And a couple others. There's a canine handler in there, and it's just ridiculous in my opinion. But the plaintiffs claim that the defendants, including creators like Barbecue Lady, Granny's Watching. These two are the only two that have actually been named in the lawsuit, but you'll see when we get into the lawsuit that it actually does include a total of 52 other creators. And they're claiming that these creators have been engaging in a coordinated campaign to discredit them and obstruct the search for Sebastian. Now, these creators are in Pennsylvania. I know one of them has been to Tennessee and helped search for Sebastian. She's got videos. She's posted lots of times where she's been out searching. The other one, I do not think has been to Tennessee to search, and they have her included in this lawsuit. Tell me how her being in a total other state, several states away, can impede their ability to search for Sebastian. Makes no sense. But like I said, these are just allegations. Nothing, no findings have been made. And, you know, it's just, but this is a 83-page legal complaint. And like I said, we're going to go through some of the important parts of the lawsuit. And, you know, as we go through this, it's just try to keep your composure, because I know that some of this is really going to sound hilarious in the way that it was. But one section, let me put this up so y'all can see. One section of this is from, and it's got, you know, everybody named, their addresses. And I went through this and I redacted everybody's address, you know, even the plaintiff's address, because I refuse to be part of a doxing crew. I'm not going to dox anybody deliberately. But basically what this boils down to, you know, the background on this case, if plaintiffs are engaged in the urgent and sensitive task of locating Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, a 15-year-old missing child last seen on February the 25th, 2024 in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Despite extensive efforts, Sebastian remains missing, even after coordinating and uninterrupted searches. Well, can't quite say they've been uninterrupted. You know, and it's saying this, it goes on to say that the search for Sebastian has proven far more difficult than a typical missing teenager investigation, as a few ill-intended individuals have sought to cast Mr. Rogers as a villain. Meanwhile, others have conducted quote-unquote Salem witch trial-like panels aimed at intimidating potential witnesses or discouraging those who may have useful information from coming forward. Now, I've watched a lot of these creators, okay? And I've never heard any of them come out and discourage people from looking or sharing information. Even the ones that don't like the things that Sebastian Rogers' father has said. Even they have encouraged people that have any information whatsoever, regardless of how small, to call the TBI or the Sumner County Sheriff's Department. I mean, and it goes on to say some of these individuals uncomfortably close to Mr. Rogers include his ex-wife, Kate Proudfoot, and her husband, Christopher Proudfoot. Others are so-called content creators whose sole aim seems to be inviting, inciting, instructing, and destroying the lives of anyone who dares to search for answers or help locate the missing teenager. Now, that part right there is just asinine, in my opinion, because I've never heard anyone discourage anyone from looking for Sebastian. Excuse me. So it goes on and it says, as set forth below, defendants have engaged in reckless and unlawful actions, including the release of false information, harassment, threats, and interference, which have severely disrupted the search operations. Defendants' actions have caused significant harm, diverted critical resources, and impeded plaintiffs' lawful efforts to locate Sebastian. Crazy. So it's just nuts. But if we scroll down to section 66, like I said, this is a long document. Here is the section where it really showcases Dog the Bounty Hunter's frustration. And a more than a 3-decade law enforcement official in Pennsylvania, a former district attorney and former attorney general, states that he understands the frustration local authorities must be feeling. And in this section, it talks about how Dog the Bounty Hunter and his team have faced harassment instead of support while searching for Sebastian. The plaintiffs also claim that they've been bombarded with threats and false information being spread by the defendants. I mean, these are just allegations. Still, nothing's been proven in court, but these allegations are just really out there, to be honest. It says, let's go to the chat here. It says, if someone said to make false statements to their followers, don't think that's necessary or should be done in any case. Oh, I agree, Casey. I do. I don't think that false statements or any type of false information needs to be put out. I don't. But at the same time, these creators are basically just critiquing the interviews that Seth has been on. I don't think any of them have had Seth on their channels. I know Bullhorn Betty has, but I don't think Granny Watching has. Barbecue Lady may have had some type of interaction with Seth while she was in Tennessee searching, but it's not like these creators are all right there in Tennessee. And to be honest, from reading through all of this and listening to the things that I've heard, I kind of feel like this is retaliation because things didn't go the way they wanted it to in one other court hearing. I mean, I could be wrong, but this just seems like it's a big lawsuit because people's feelings are hurt. And that doesn't constitute RICO. That's, just because you got your feelings hurt doesn't give you the right to file these types of claims against somebody. And I've personally heard one of the plaintiffs that has filed this case doing the exact same thing to another party of this Sebastian Rogers case. This woman has talked and said some horrible things about the mother of that 15-year-old boy. Straight down to the fact that she, and I quote her, she did something with that boy. And he didn't walk out of that house. She had to carry him out of that house. She did something to that boy. I can't tell you at the times I've heard that woman say it with my own 2 ears. So, yeah, it's Gen X. It's like throwing spaghetti and it's like throwing something against the wall to try to get something to stick. It just, yeah, Casey, it really does sound like they're just throwing whatever they can in there, just trying to get something to stick. But to be honest, I don't see anything. I don't see anything sticking. It says here it's Exhibit 36 is what they're talking about, and it's been incorporated into this. But it says that same day, defendant Granny's Watching hosted a 2-hour and 42-minute live stream dissecting the 17-minute interview with plaintiff Dog the Bounty Hunter and counsel Bruce Castor, during which she disregarded the law and its protocols. A true and correct copy of the live stream is attached here too as Exhibit 37 and incorporated for reference herein. While Mr. Castor and plaintiff Dog the Bounty Hunter were on national television advocating for the search for Sebastian Rogers, plaintiff Nick, I can't pronounce his last name, Nick DeHat's what he's known by, was summoned to the Pennsylvania Department of Probation and Parole due to an alarming flood of false reports concerning his involvement in the case. These reports spiraled into outlandish allegations suggesting that Nick DeHat had many repeated contact with Christopher and Kate Proudfoot, and even more bizarrely, they had traveled to Tennessee with Dog the Bounty Hunter in an attempt to kidnap individuals and inject them with truth serum, all in a supposed effort to extract confessions. Well, that was said. It was in one of his live recordings. So, wasn't a thought up conspiracy or nothing like that. It come right out of his mouth. I heard it. But it goes on and it says, as a result of these unfounded reports, Nick DeHat was slapped with extraordinary restrictive and irrational conditions by the parole board. First, he was forbidden from working with any law enforcement agencies without explicit written permission from the parole board itself, with the order stating there are no exceptions. A true and correct copy of the order from the Pennsylvania Parole Board barring Nick DeHat from working with law enforcement is attached to Exhibit 38. The absurdity of this restriction is self-evident. Despite Mr. Nick DeHat role in assisting with the search of a missing child, he was effectively barred from collaborating with very entities tasked with finding that child, local law enforcement and federal agencies. Such a restriction, particularly in high-stakes situations like this, not only handicaps efforts to locate Sebastian, but also raises serious questions about the motivations behind the enforcement of these orders. Adding to the sanity, really nothing can, but a second order was issued barring Nick DeHat from contacting Christopher Proudfoot and his family in any form, directly or indirectly, via social media, phone calls, text, or even through third parties. The language of the order was as severe as the first, There are no exceptions. So, yeah, it's nuts. It just really makes no sense. And I mean, I can't deny the fact that, just like they say in the court documents that were filed, that it's a bizarre case. On sections 82 to 85, this one right here kind of like blew my mind. It says here, on September the 30th, 2024, an individual identifying themselves as an FBI postal inspector wearing a badge attempted to question Michelle Klubine after she and her husband received constant threats and harassments online. On October 1st, 2024, Kenneth Klubine, aka Uncle Taco, called the Oklahoma City branch of the FBI to report the incident involving the individual posing as an FBI postal inspector. On October the 22nd, plaintiff at night issued a litigation hold by email to all contractors, personnel, representatives, social media moderators, public figures, clients, and other relevant parties associated with the search for Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. The email instructed all recipients to preserve any materials that could be considered relevant to the case. On October the 5th, at approximately 7:16 p.m., a white Chevy truck pulled into plaintiff whatever's driveway, which is hidden from the road. A man exited the vehicle, leaving the door ajar, and began peering into the windows of the home. He knocked on the door and, after noticing the security camera, quickly left. And they have all of those attached. Now, I don't know why somebody would be impersonating an FBI postal inspector. I don't know if they thought that was going to intimidate or what, but I don't know. But now, aside from all of these allegations in this lawsuit, we do know that there are 4 confirmed protection orders that have been filed against one of the plaintiffs in this case. And those are legal actions. And they've already been taken by family members of Sebastian Rogers. The protection orders that I'm speaking of, they were filed by Sebastian Rogers' mother, Katie Proudfoot, his stepdad, Chris Proudfoot, and his step-grandparents. Oh, I can't remember their names now. But it's another odd name. But, and those protection orders prevent Bullhorn Betty from contacting, harassing, any type of communication. And according to the judge, not even to talk about them. And that's one area of this case where we have actual court-ordered actions. And that's important to differentiate between this and the allegations that are still being fought in court. Now, let's take a little bit of a closer look at some of the main defendants and, of course, and the plaintiffs, in this case. And we're going to start with the defendants. Barbecue Lady. She's a TikToker who raised money for Blip boards and to help with the search for Sebastian. Now, while her intentions might have been good, she's accused of making unfounded allegations against the plaintiffs. I've never watched Barbecue Lady, so I have just seen her in other people's videos out searching and stuff. Granny's watching. Granny is a YouTuber who allegedly participated in panels that spread false information about the case. You know, again, just like I stated in the beginning of this video, my stated opinions here on this channel are that they're my opinions. If I have someone come up on a panel, what they state is their opinion. It's not my opinion. Doesn't mean I have to agree with them. And she can't be held liable for it. Well, Casey, yeah, he's had to, or he'd go back to prison because he's on parole. I don't know what he did, don't know what he was charged with, don't know how long he served. I didn't look it up. In my opinion, ain't none of my business. You know, it's got it's just, it has absolutely nothing to do with me. And I'm not the type of person that holds people's past against them. Okay, you made some mistakes. Serve your time, pay the price, then go on with your life. It's what we should be able to do. But a lot of times it don't work that way. But then on the plaintiff side, back to the defendant side. In the document, let me pull that back up. In the document, I think it was the beginning. Yeah. It says right here, does 1 through 50 inclusive. Barbecue Lady is named, and Granny's watching is named. And then does 1 through 50 inclusive. So that makes this 100. This makes this 52 people that have named in this lawsuit. So, and in here, throughout all these documents, they mention not only Granny's watching and Barbecue Lady. Granny watching and Barbecue Lady are the ones mostly mentioned, but they mention Queen Bee. They mention who else was it they mentioned? Scanning through here to see. But they've mentioned several other, and it's implied that Dolly Vision and a lot of others are included in this. And it basically comes down to the fact that these plaintiffs don't want these other creators to use they can't use their social medias for a way to raise money to pay for their legal fees. That's pretty much what I get out of this. But here is Andrea Griffin, who is Bullhorn Betty. Here is her thing where she was, and she incorporates and referenced by all preceding paragraphs as fully set forth herein. A true and correct copy of the sworn declaration of Andrea Griffin, aka Bullhorn Betty, is attached hereto in Exhibit 58 and incorporated by reference herein. Defendants Granny Watchin and Barbecue Lady engaged in a well-coordinated campaign of defamation, harassment, and intimidation against Miss Griffin as defined in her declaration. This campaign involved multiple people acting in concert to damage her reputation, disrupt her work, and instill fear in her daily life. Defendant Granny's Watchin initially targeted Miss Griffin in 2021, with the attacks intensifying as Mrs. Griffin's profile grew, particularly during the high-profile investigation of Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers in March of 2024. Granny's Watching labeled Miss Griffin as a tragedy pimp and a grifter and distributed false information, all with the intent to harm Miss Griffin's reputation and credibility. Under Pennsylvania law 42 PACS 8343, these statements constitute defamation per se, as they impute dishonorable conduct to Miss Griffin, damaging her reputation in her profession. Wow. The defamatory and harassing conduct also included false reports to law enforcement, resulting in Miss Griffin's unjust arrest based on fabricated claims from people under Granny's Watching's influence, thereby disrupting her investigation and damaging her professional standing. These acts meet the criteria of harassment under 18 PACS 2709, which criminalizes actions intended to cause emotional distress or fear of harm. Wait a minute. I don't care how many people call the police department. They're not going to arrest you unless you committed a crime. Nobody gets those silver bracelets put on them unless you commit a crime in most cases. None that's going to land you in the back of a jail. So for her to say that, that's kind of outlandish, because she violated those restraining orders. Casey, just wondering, because I have heard that one of the other people actually got on their Facebook at the courthouse after being told not to contact or speak about them. I do know that Betty went live later that night. Cluminotti went live, I think, after the court. She was sitting in her car and she went live on YouTube, not on Facebook, but on YouTube, to give everybody an update, because everybody was waiting to hear what was going on. So I don't know, but I do know that she went live later that night. And she said Sebastian's name. I heard it. The video wasn't altered. The video wasn't edited. It was played right from her channel, and I heard it myself. You know, there's no judge going to sign a warrant for your arrest for violating protection orders if there wasn't proof that you violated them. It's not going to, a judge is not going to sign an arrest warrant for somebody calling in and saying, oh, this person did this, or oh, this person did that. That's hearsay. Ain't no cops going to arrest you for hearsay. Hearsay don't hold up in a court of law. They arrested her because of her own actions. And for her to sit here and lay that blame on other creators is asinine. And for somebody like Dog the Bounty Hunter to get behind this type of behavior is even more asinine. I thought he learned a lot when he was married to Beth. I really did. But maybe he's forgotten it. I mean, it's just... Now, on the plaintiff's side, we've got Seth Rogers, who is Sebastian's father. And he's the one that claims that all these actions of these creators have disrupted the search for his son. And then, you know, there's Dog the Bounty Hunter. There's Nick the Hat. You know, Dog the Bounty Hunter, I've noticed, has been involving himself in a lot of these. I know of two. I know of two. The Gabby Petito, he injected himself into that, and now he's in the Sebastian Rogers case. So I think he's trying to use this to... This is what he does, you know, for that at night media or something. I don't know. But one of the biggest questions, though, that this whole entire case raises is, what does this mean for the future of social media creators? I mean, if the plaintiffs are successful, now let's think about this for a minute, okay? If the plaintiffs are successful in proving this RICO case, this could really set a huge precedent for content creators, especially those involved in true crime or investigative commentary. And, you know, commentary is not illegal. Commentary is something that happens every day in all genres. It's not just in the true crime. I mean, but this could really lead to some really tight restrictions on what creators can say, particularly when it comes to sensitive and ongoing cases. You know, and I've said it before, and I'll say, you know, it bears worth repeating, that nothing in this case here has been proven in a court of law. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens in court and as this case unfolds. This case could really change how social media creators operate. But for now, we just watch and wait. But tonight we've covered a lot with this. You know, we covered what is RICO, the allegations in this lawsuit. You know, now the protection orders that we were talking about earlier, the protection orders, she's got 4 of them. One of them just a couple of weeks ago was ordered by the judge. But she's also got 6 criminal charges for violating those first 3 POs that she's got. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but I do know that this isn't good for anybody. I mean, it's cyber stalking and cyber harassment. I mean, you know, and this just comes from me watching, okay? Bullhorn Betty has done the exact same thing that she is accusing these other people of doing. I've watched Bullhorn Betty. I've heard Bullhorn Betty do it with my own ears. I'm not relying on what other people put out, other people's opinions. I've heard her do it. I've heard her do it. And she has snubbed her nose at courts and now this. It just makes no sense to me. But I don't think that this is really going to gain any traction, to be honest with you. And with the things that they're quote unquote, the damages or whatever, it doesn't appear that they're actually wanting monetary compensation. But at the same time, they want their legal fees reimbursed. But right now, the only ones that I think there's only the plaintiffs, but I don't think all of them are going to be represented by the attorney. I think that attorney only is representing At Night Media. So I don't know. Are they going to be pro se? What are they going to do? Because I don't think I would go pro se on a case like this. Nope. The first mention of a case like this, and yeah, my lawyer's going to be all over it. I mean, it's just crazy, all this stuff. But, I think November the 23rd is when she goes to court for criminal charges. They don't. The good channels don't do anything like that. And like I said, I follow Granny, and I really enjoy her channel. I absolutely love listening to Queen Bee. And Kathy P's Let's Talk About It. And Kathy's not in this, they're not coming after Kathy, but have I heard content creators say things that they shouldn't, that really isn't cool to say? Of course, we all do it. But when you take what someone said themselves and you talk about it and you don't twist it, we have to suffer the consequences of the things that come out of our mouth. And Seth Rogers needs to learn that. Seth Rogers, since about 2 weeks after Sebastian was missing, Seth Rogers has done absolutely nothing but dog Katie and dog Chris. He's spinning this narrative just like Bullhorn Betty. Bullhorn Betty is jumping on his bandwagon and saying that Katie and Chris did something to this kid. Now, Chris was in Memphis. The only person that was in that house with that boy was him and his mother. And the police has come out and said that there's no evidence of foul play. This woman has been leaving snacks and stuff outside so that Sebastian could find his way home. Just because you don't see something being done doesn't mean it's not being done. And I know that Seth had nothing to do with his child disappearing. I do not believe Katie had anything to do with it. I think this child, 15 years old, recently diagnosed as autistic, very, very smart, figured out how to get on the internet, was getting on the internet, and his parents didn't know it, got mixed up with some people and walked out of the house. It does happen. It really does happen. I watched another channel, J for Justice, where she took there was like 2 or 3 little lights that really looked like flashlights. And if you line it up with the street and the houses, and it's right across their backyard into the neighbor's backyard. It looks like 2 flashlights. And if I'm not mistaken, Katie said there was a flashlight missing. But this kid didn't take his cell phone. He didn't put on his shoes. Are there things surrounding this that are questionable? Of course there is. Of course there is. But Chris Proudfoot was not in the Hendersonville area. He was actually in Memphis on a job site. I mean, I've heard Bullhorn Betty and other people talking about, what married couple talks on the phone from 9:30 until 12:30, 1 o'clock. Me and my husband did when my husband traveled for work. Sure did. He'd get off work. I'd be off work. He'd call and we would talk. Sometimes 3 and 4 hours. Yep. Nothing unusual at all about that if your husband travels for work. Nothing unusual at all. So, but this has really gotten out of control when these types of things can be filed. And I mean, I think this is Jules, who is the canine handler. And she's saying that Granny Watson knowingly released personal information regarding plaintiff's mother, including her full name and place of employment, through a publicly accessible platform, as evidenced by by Granny's Watson's action revealing the school website where Valenti's mother worked as a teacher. The release of this personal information was made with the intent to harass or intimidate plaintiff and her family. Exposure of this private information placed her mother and family at risk of harassment and harm. I don't agree with that. If that was done, that was wrong, but it still doesn't constitute RICO. I mean, there's a lot of unethical behavior, a lot of ethics violations but none of this is criminal like this. So, I don't know, guys. I'm not going to lie and say that I'm not worried about Granny's watching. I am. I'm worried about Queen Bee. I mean, these types of lawsuits are not cheap to defend yourself against. And for the people that are involved in this, in the plaintiff side, i.e., that business at night, Dog the Bounty Hunter, are you kidding me? You ain't got nothing better to do with your time than to go and attack and do this to content creators that are on YouTube? or TikTok? Really? I mean, come on. I mean, the things that I heard Granny say was the truth. He went on this national television show and he was calling Seth Sean and calling Sebastian Nicholas. He didn't even know the names of his clients or the missing child that he's looking for. Heaven help us. Heaven help us. But these are the people that's filing a lawsuit. Yes, Casey, the parents are being bullied by a lot of people. One of them, Bullhorn Betty. The other one, Brittany J. Now, are there some creators that are bullying Seth? Yeah. Granny's Watching isn't one of them. She's not bullying him. She's not belittling him. And she's not even telling lies. She is using his own words and talking about the things that he himself says. Nothing wrong with that. Maybe, hearing back what you say doesn't sound quite so good. No, I don't either, Casey. I don't think that type of criminal behavior is what's happening, but is there bullying going on? Of course. And it's really sad that the bullies are adults. I mean, the bullies are adults. So, I don't know. But, it'll all come out in the wash. And if this makes it to a courtroom before a judge, I hope that it's covered live. Exactly, Casey. He just doesn't like that they're showing his true colors. I mean, the way that he has talked about Katie, I mean, it's horrible. And, no, I'm not sitting here saying that, he's perfect. He's not perfect. He's just a man. There ain't nothing perfect about him. But he don't deserve to have a missing child that he doesn't know where he's at. Nobody deserves that. And that is what this is all about. This is all about Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. And it seems, and I'm guessing the reason that these creators have went to talking about the mom and the dad and stuff, it's because there's nothing else to talk about in regards to this case. There's no new evidence. There's nothing. This child just up and left. I agree, Jen. He needs to get off the internet. He has made a total mess of this case. So, I don't. And, there's some other people, too, that need to get off the internet. And, yes, he does need to distance himself from this circus. Because as long as he's associating with the people that he's associating with, like Bullhorn Betty, the people that really want to help him and really are interested in just solely interested in finding Sebastian, aren't going to help him because they don't want to be involved in this bullshit. That's why I've not talked about it, except for the little bit that I have, because there's nothing new to add. But I don't want to talk about all the bullshit that's got absolutely nothing to do with Sebastian. And Betty is just as guilty of doing the same thing that she is accusing these other creators of doing. But in her mind, she feels justified because, oh, I'm working, side by side with the dad. That's not what I think is going on. But, that's a story for another day. I mean, there's already something in this that supposedly these creators set him up and got this one woman to want to be in a sexual relationship with him only to get private documents related to Sebastian. Bullshit, dude. Bullshit. So, but yeah, I mean, this is, let me see, where is that at? Let's see if I can find it. And see, this is another part that really gets me here. It says intimidation of a witness, conduct aimed at deterring plaintiff's role in investigative matters. This ongoing pattern of conduct demonstrates a continuous scheme of illegal activities that meet the criteria for violations under both state and federal law. For the foregoing reason, plaintiff respectfully requests that this court grant a permanent injunction against defendants Barbecue Lady and Granny's Watching, enjoining them from engaging in the unlawful conduct alleged herein. And here's the relief that is sought. It says, wherefore, plaintiffs respectfully request that this court enter judgment in their favor against defendants, granting the following relief: prohibiting defendants Barbecue Lady and Granny's Watching, as well as any persons or entities acting by, for, or through them, from further disclosing, discussing, or publicly sharing any private communications involving plaintiffs or their associates, including but not limited to recordings, live streams, or related content obtained without the consent of all parties in violation of the Pennsylvania Wiretap Act. Say what? Publicly sharing any private communication. Who the hell shares private communication? Anyway, 2, direct defendants to cease the use of crowdsourcing or fundraising platforms, including but not limited to GoFundMe, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Apple Pay, and YouTube, super chats to solicit funds for their legal defense or any other purpose related to this litigation. So basically, they're wanting the courts to tell these people, oh, you can't go and do your job and ask the people that follow you to help you pay for this frivolous lawsuit that some yahoos brought to you. Prohibit defendants, Barbecue Lady and Granny's Watching, along with their associates, from making any defamatory or disparaging statements regarding plaintiffs Seth Rogers, Tony Mathis, At Night Media LLC, or any other named individuals, whether directly or indirectly, through any platform or medium, to prevent further harm to plaintiffs. please. Reputation and emotional distress as per Pennsylvania defamation law and harassment statute. Direct defendants, Barbecue Lady and Granny's Watching, to cease any attempts to portray, disclose, or release the private information, identities, or family details of plaintiffs, associated individuals, whether through social media, public forums, or any other channels, to protect the safety and privacy of those involved. Required defendants, Barbecue Lady and Granny's Watching, to immediately remove any existing online content, video, posts, or publications that reference plaintiffs in a defamatory, harassing, or intrusive manner, and to certify in writing that such content has been permanently removed from all platforms under their control. Okay. First of all, I don't care how many times you delete something on the internet, it ain't gone. It ain't going nowhere. Order the defendants, Barbecue Lady and Granny's Watching, to reimburse plaintiffs for any cost incurred in addressing or mitigating the harm caused by the defendants' unauthorized disclosures and defamatory conduct, including but not limited to legal fees, investigative costs, and any other necessary remedial actions. They are asking for monetary. I did not see that part. They are asking for monetary compensation. Get a job, people. Mandate the defendants inform their audiences, including followers, supporters, subscribers, and associates, to cease and desist from all defamatory, harassing, or threatening behavior, and to provide evidence to the court within 7 days confirming that such instructions have been issued in good faith. Grant such other and further preliminary relief as this honorable court deems just and appropriate to prevent ongoing and irreparable harm to plaintiffs. Wow. I mean, if they're releasing, personal information and stuff like that, then, it just, I don't know, it's just nuts. Well, yeah, they can try, and, people can also, it's just, I think this is just stupid. It's just a waste of money, a waste of court's time. I don't really think this is going to get before any judge. And as of right now, I do not think anyone has been served. So until someone is actually served and there's proof of service that has been filed with the court, this isn't going to be assigned to a judge. It's just going to sit there. So unless they pay to have these people served, then you just wasted $300 and something bucks. But it's got them scared, and I think that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to just scare them. So we'll see. We'll see what all happens. I mean, it's crazy, but we'll see what happens. But I do want to thank you all for joining me tonight. I've thought about that too, Casey, that it might just be dramatic scare tactic, but that's a very expensive scare tactic. I don't think I'd be spending $300 and something to scare somebody. I can do it cheaper, but that's just me. But I do wish all of them the best in this, you know? Right. If they have the money, they wouldn't care, right? But yeah, Dog would do it. Yeah. Dog, I don't know. I used to really like Dog, but some things since Beth's passing has made me rethink that. I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about him anymore. But I heard, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that the main reason that him and his company is doing this is because he's trying to get a new TV show. So I'm guessing he's trying to get in the TV series, which I just can't see it happening without Beth. I just can't. So, you know, but we've been on here about an hour and 15 minutes, I think. I don't know, Casey, I just don't understand why he's in this mess with these missing kids. I mean, he's a bounty hunter. I mean, I know he's getting old, but he's a bounty hunter. You know, when he was involved in the Gabby Petito case, he was like, "We will find her." He didn't find her. He had absolutely nothing to do with her being located whatsoever. So, I don't know. It's just a mess. I don't know, Casey, I don't know what kind of show. I mean, to be honest, I can't see him doing anything other than what he's been doing, the bail jumping stuff. I mean, that's what his persona is all about. It could be, but who knows? I know it was really sad when Beth passed and when she got sick and couldn't beat that nasty ass cancer, but I really did like Beth. Yeah, Gen X, what do you think? Because I know Gen X follows some. A couple of episodes of Dog the Bounty Hunter, Casey? Oh, I used to watch it all the time. I really loved Beth. It doesn't make sense, does it, Gen X? Yeah. He should probably find one if he wants to get into it. I mean, neither one that I know of that he's been involved in yet. He has found, because he didn't find Gabby, and so far Sebastian hasn't been found. I did too, Gen X. I loved the old dog and Beth. Beth brought out the best in dog. She really did. And I miss that dog. Yeah, Beth was a badass. And she really was. She was a badass. I liked her. And in my opinion, I think she's the one that really made that show. She was the brains behind that show. But she sure loved him and put up with a bunch of his shit. And then she gets sick. So, well, guys, I'm guessing that Kathy's not going to get to join us tonight, so I'm going to go ahead and end it because we've went through pretty much all of the well, you know what they say, Casey, behind every good man's a good woman. So, but yeah, I'm gonna close this out and go take me a shower and get ready for bed, get up and do it all over again. You know how that goes. But in the morning, we are streaming the Sarah Boone trial. I think they're starting the closing arguments tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes. Thanks, Gen X. Thanks, Casey. I wasn't sure how this was going to turn out because I know how a lot of them are bombarding places and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'd rather be safe than sorry. So thanks again, guys, for hanging with me. I appreciate it. And whenever something new comes up, I'll put it right here for you guys. I promise. Thanks again, guys. Here's the outro. Have a great night. Love you guys.